Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnana-pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodho Bhidiyate. So we are speaking of three sets. Each one of these sets is a different form of experience that we are familiar with. We are familiar with something that we call the physical body. We're familiar with our waking and dream states. And we're also familiar with the last set, which will be more specific relative to our body. And the text is now pointing out these sets so that we can get a more intimate, direct, and closer recognition of, even though our experience manifests it, that's the function of the body. It's to manifest an experience. So the text is pointing out that being given these sets, these three states, our bodies, their function is to provide feedback, right? Whatever we do or think about or enjoy, the mechanism given to you is made so that it can capture the experience, it can calculate, it can assess what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and do that in a way keeping with universal ethical values, what is right or what is appropriate and inappropriate, keeping with your own values, what do you find worthy of pursuit and worthy dying for, keeping with cultural values, keeping with your sometimes our own distortions. So this, of course, has to be looked into. But nevertheless, our entire experience relative to objects, handling objects, dealing with objects, people objects, work objects, car objects on the road, paying the bills, that's an object. The experience, it's an object. Saying hello to your neighbor, going shopping, objects. Whatever we do, there are objects, and the object does not exclude your object, which is your body, mind, intellect, which is meant to process other objects. So there are other objects in the world. The body is also an object. And the function of the object called the body is to work out and make sense of objects outside the body. And this whole interaction between the body, mind, object, the external objects, and the values and keeping with what's appropriate, inappropriate, this whole thing works together, synergistically together, and produces an experience which you then say, if you make a mistake, if you commit a mistake, you say, I am going through this. This is happening to me. This to me is the purpose of these three sets, because the whole problem is this to me. So the three sets is doing what? It's leaving the I alone and it's taking the to me out. And therefore, to get a more accurate capturing of what is comprised of this to me, we go into the three sets. And we stopped at set 1, covering the physical body, the subtle body. And we said the physical body is made up of 5 elements. This is a model. These 5 elements are also the same 5 elements that comprise the universe. Furthermore, from the 5 elements, they are divided into 2 categories: the subtle elements, the subtle 5 elements, and the gross 5 elements. The subtle five elements is what makes up your thoughts, right? They're subtler in nature. The physical five elements is what makes up the brain, the physical brain. The physical five elements, which makes up the brain, is subject to physical laws, such as physics, gravity. Whereas the subtle five elements, which makes up your thoughts, is not subject to certain physical laws that affect the brain, such as gravity or physics. For example, how do we know that the physical brain is different from the physical, from the subtle mind? The physical brain gets pulled down by, suppose, gravity. When it goes into NASA, the space station, the physical brain floats. The physical brain is now, no longer subject to gravity. So gravity captures the gross five elements. The brain, being made from the gross five elements, is subject to the laws that are specifically targeting the gross five elements, which includes your brain. Those very laws which are targeting the gross five elements, that is your physical brain, your body, do not target the five subtle elements, which is your thoughts. Because if that would mean that now your body, your brain is being pulled down by this force. You go to outer space. Your brain is no longer subject to this force, but your thoughts do not float away. You do not experience yourself kind of like airy-fairy now all over the place. So this means, or one indication, how through logic we can see many ways there are. One of the ways is like this, a modern way to recognize there is a difference between the subtle elements, which is what comprises your mind, a subtle body, and the physical elements, the physical five elements, which is what comprises your physical body. So the physical body is affected by certain laws, and those laws have no power in reference to the subtle body. However, the subtle body is also governed by certain laws, such as what is appropriate and inappropriate. When the mind has a thought of hurt towards, suppose, oneself, criticism, denial, judgment, there's a certain mechanism, a feedback mechanism, that tells me something needs to change here. This feedback mechanism is what acts on the subtle body, on your mind, which is why you cannot deny it. Because not only is the subtle body provided, but the same laws that affect the subtle body and the laws which affect the physical body, they're also provided. So laws are provided, the physical body is provided, your subtle body is provided, your capacity to think is provided, capacity to recall, the capacity to store information and hold it long enough until it transfers to long term. That capacity of short term to long term is also provided. Feedback mechanism is provided. The whole thing is given to you. Your I sense is provided. The sense of I, that I am an individual, that I am not you. That is also provided. Can you eliminate what is provided? Can you eliminate that which is always provided, will continue to be provided, has never not been provided, and is meant to be provided so that you can work out your stuff? Can you eliminate that? Because if you were to eliminate any one of these components, such as your memory, or they say in the spiritual world, get rid of your I sense, your ego, That is provided. There's nothing wrong with the ego, with the I sense. It's a mechanism provided by these laws, by this intelligence. It's meant to give you an experience of individuality so that you can function in this world. So that when this body feels hungry, it doesn't start feeding that body. It starts feeding the body that's experiencing hunger. That's the I sense. So we're not eliminating anything because you cannot eliminate whatever is provided. The only thing you can eliminate is those notions which you have added onto what is provided. These notions is what's called avidya, ignorance, such as the I sense is provided. But then we attach things onto the I sense and we say the I is a professor. The I is an important person. I is, so the I is provided. Look at this. The I sense is provided. And then and what else is provided? Free will. Through the use of free will, the individual uses this free will to add notions of what this I, which is provided, really is. It has no value of its own. It's just there to help you to work in this world. It's just given. But then the individual says, you know, because this I lacks fullness, lacks knowledge of what is its true nature, being Brahman, because it lacks that full knowledge, it compels itself to complete itself. Make sense? It is partial. That's what ignorance means. It doesn't know self as fullness. I am, says the I sense, I am small. Therefore, for I to become big, what do I do? What do I do? That which is provided. That uses this body, which is also provided, uses the laws of the world, which is also provided, and then adds onto this I whatever it is, a career, a status, or a big thing nowadays is followers on YouTube. You know, I've got a channel with 1.5 million, never mind 1.5. Today, you can just do some silly videos like slamming yourself into a car, you know, and put this on TikTok. And within 24 hours, you will have what, 10,000 followers already, just like that. Tell me which of those followers are going to show up at your funeral and shed a tear? Zero. But that doesn't matter to the I, because the I just wants to add, whether it is keeping with the reality or whether it is according to its own imagination. It doesn't care whether it's reality. All it wants to do is to relieve itself from this sense of smallness. And the quickest way to do that is to build a following. Whatever it involves, it just wants to add some notions onto it. And these notions is what Vedanta is interested in, okay? Because these notions, as long as they are attached onto that which is provided, the I sense, then the I sense cannot see the world. It cannot see this order which first requires you to see, in order to recognize yourself, that there is no difference between this order and Brahman. See, in the spiritual world, very often we go straight to Brahman, straight to awareness. This is the standard approach. But that doesn't work. The reason is because the person who wants to go straight to awareness, to understand awareness, that person can see, you cannot go to awareness. Awareness is attributeless. It has no attributes. It is formless. So if this mind wants to now go into awareness and skip this world, what does that imply? that the world is not worthy of my attention, that the world, I'm dismissing the world because it's impure. It's an impure place. Now, this impure place means that I've placed my own notions onto the world. You follow me? If the world is because to skip the world and go straight to Brahman implies I have skipped the world. Why? Because it's an unpleasant place. We only skip that which is unpleasant. You don't skip things that are pleasant. Therefore, to go straight to Brahman implies I am skipping the world. To skip the world implies I am attaching that my own notions are superimposed over the world. Those very notions are also going to be superimposed onto what? That which I'm seeking, Brahman. So to skip the world implies I'm superimposing. Those very same superimpositions will be doing the same thing to the final reality. So in Vedanta, we first take it down a notch. We take it step by step by step. What is that intervening factor which first has to be looked into before I can understand that the truth of this entire world, the universe, and myself is not different, is not two, it's one and the same. The only way that one can arrive to the final reality is through forms, because the forms is all we have. How are you going to think about the formless? How are you going to feel that which is formless? How are you going to talk about that which is formless? To talk about something implies I either see it in my mind, I imagined it, or I see it with my physical eyes. How are you going to relate with what is formless? Awareness is formless. How am I going to know, cognize, capture something that is formless? How can a form capture formless? Not possible. Therefore, Vedanta makes it very clear. The only way to relate, to know the formless, that is awareness, is through form. And as we have spoken earlier on, when we did the Satya-Mithya relationship, there's no contradiction between the pot and the, okay, maybe I have this. There's no contradiction between the form and the very content of this form, which in this case is the glass. It's like the wave in the ocean. It says, I want to skip the ocean in order to know the water. The wave's entire existence is not different from the ocean. And the truth of the ocean is the water. To try to go to water without looking into the ocean is to create an idea of what the water is to create some kind of an imagination of what the water is. All the wave has is what it sees. And what it sees, what is the content of that which I see? The water. What I see are manifestations. The body is a manifestation. Your thought is a manifestation. Your emotions are a manifestation. Your epiphanies are a manifestation. Manifestation of what? Of the total intelligence. Laws and orders which govern the universe, which manifest thoughts according to your free will. According to what you collapse, those thoughts manifest. The whole thing is governed by the ocean, in this case, the ocean. All you have is the ocean. You can't think about the water as a wave, speaking metaphorically. You can't think about the water because you are the water. That one who is thinking about the water already is the water. Their thoughts about the water are already water. Their objections about the water, the very objection itself has its being not different from the water. The objection can only be in the presence of that one that is there to witness that objection, that one in whose presence that objection is taking place. Awareness. So objection becomes an object of awareness. Your thoughts about awareness are an object of awareness. Your thought, am I really kind of getting there closer? Am I there? That whole thing, the whole thought is an object of awareness. To say, thank God I have understood finally. That cognition is an object of awareness. To say, once upon a time, I did not know. Slowly, slowly, I am coming to know. That's buddhi. That's the intellect. The intellect, once upon a time, was confused with personal notions added onto the I sense. Through the course of time, you looked into those notions and they were removed. Once upon a time, in the presence of I awareness, there was a buddhi loaded with pressures, loaded with notions. A couple of years later, that very buddhi, still in the presence of I, looking at it, this buddhi is relatively pure, relatively clear, relatively aligned with what needs to be done. The whole thing, from whether it was confused and when it's clear, the whole thing is an object of awareness. Because of our conditioning, right? The world telling us you're hungry here. Let me give you some food. Okay, I'm hungry. Or let me give you some broccoli, right? And then you eat the broccoli. Once upon a time, you looked at that broccoli and you said, I'm not that broccoli. I'm not that spinach over there. I'm not that spinach over there. And now you eat the spinach, you eat the broccoli, it converts into proteins and fats, and that ends up being an extra bulk on the body. And now I say, in reference to this extra 5 millimeters of bulk, I say, this is me. Where just 1 month ago, this extra bulk was nothing but a broccoli over there, which I proudly said, that is not me. I'm very smart. That's not me. And now I got tricked. I ate it. It became part of, and even if it contributes to clear thinking, because some foods contribute to sort of a expanded thinking. And now in reference to what the food has contributed, you say, I am now being extra aware now, extra aware. Contribution of food. So the models are showing us, analyzing our experience, and simply pointing out where we commit these mistakes. Now, the causal body, it wants to mention what is this causal body. So physical and subtle body we have now reviewed. Now let's look at this causal body on the next page. Karana shariram kim anirvachanandya vidya rupam. So that's anirvachaniya anadi avidya rupam. Sharira dvayasya karana matram satswarupa jnanam nirvikalpa rupam yadasti tat karana shariram. So karana sharira kim. What is karana sharira, the causal body? Just look at this one word, causal, cause, not even body. Okay, forget about body, just cause. What is a cause? Cause is something which causes something else. A cause causes. So you see, your physical body and your subtle body have come to being, that it has manifested at some time. In this case, whenever it was born, right? It was caused by something. It was caused in time. So if it came, right, it stands to reason then it was caused by something. Yes, we say it was caused by our parents. This is very typical, right? Typical model, caused by my parents. Of course, there's more to it in Vedanta. But I want you to look at anything in this universe. Find me one thing, like a tree, right? A tree, a wonderful tree that provides life to birds and shade for the rest of us. The tree is caused from the seed, right? But by what is that seed caused? By the tree. Okay, then what was that tree caused by? By the seed. The son is caused by the father. The father is caused by his father. That father is caused by generations ago. Your genes in your body are caused by parents. Your parents' genes are caused by or a product of their parents' genes. Their parents' genes have come together or a mixture or caused by those before them. Look at anything else. The cloud. Look at a cloud if you got clouds, cloud cover. A cloud is caused by evaporation of water. Evaporation of water is caused by heat. Heat is caused by the sun. The sun is caused by hydrogen and helium. Hydrogen and helium is caused by, or at least their combination that makes up the sun, nuclear fission. Nuclear fission is caused by those gases coming together. Those gases is caused by the movement of those gases traveling and finding themselves together. The movement is caused by the laws which enable movement. The laws are caused by the intelligence because of which those laws do what they are meant to do, or the laws in whose presence forms interact in a certain way. Find me something else in the universe that doesn't have a cause. Anything. We're not talking about consciousness right now. That is causeless. That's the only reality that has no cause. But find me anything other than consciousness which doesn't have a cause. Today is caused by yesterday. Whatever has taken place yesterday, whatever events have taken place yesterday, shape today. Today is a perfect reflection of yesterday. No, it's not. Yesterday I didn't have a back pain. Now I've got back pain. That is also a cause. That's called adrishta, unseen cause. It just takes time to come. It's still a cause. We may not remember, but there is something there. It's caused by the weather, maybe. It's caused by number of factors that are just beyond our knowledge. But it doesn't matter if they're beyond our knowledge. The point is, everything in the universe, anything that is created, that is here, present, true, looking at it, perceiving it, talking about it, anything has been caused by a number of factors. Whether you look at them, think about them or not, it has still been caused by a number of factors. Owing to our limited minds, of course, it's very hard to trace what is it that has caused this personality? Wow, the society, that's easy. Well, parents, that's also easy. Culture, that's super easy. Of course, this is what everyone is saying. But does it stop there? Isn't it funny, right? When it comes to our physical body, we say, yeah, the physical body is caused by my parents' body, therefore, is caused by their parents. So in other words, your physical body right now is not only a cause of parents, but it also inheres qualities of those people who you've never met. Generations and generations ago, your body right now inheres the genes of those ones who you've never seen. They're called your great-great-great-grandparents and your family. So now when it comes to the personality, what do we then do? What kind of a mistake do we commit when it comes to personality? Oh, this personality for the first time ever has been caused starting just in this life. So when it comes to the body, which science, by the way, does not disagree with, that everything is caused by something else, when it comes to the personality, we suddenly say, no, this is for the first time I have been born in this life. But when it comes to our body, we say, no, this body is a continuation of parents, You see the connection here? So now where's the question of saying, yeah, for the first time ever, I have been born. I have never been here before. There is not one thing that you can find that suddenly begins at one point in time. And before, there was nothing. Not one thing. So whatever personality you're enjoying right now, or you have had enjoyed when you were 1 or 2 or 3, that was not just a product of your parents, because no effect starts at one particular time. We cannot find one thing that has that kind of nature.
Oh, Andre, sorry, just thoughts. This is just explaining reincarnation and karma. These are laws.
These are laws.
So, and that birth, which is your body currently, is an accumulation of all the karmas and births of previous lives, which you are expressing in this current present life. And if you take this further, your human body is just an evolution to a higher state, which you are now explaining that ultimate higher awareness is Brahman. Previous to the beginning of the lecture, we were talking, it would explain the form and formless, the words saguna and nirguna. So you need to have a form to accept it and then take away the avidyas, the notions, to try and relate to the formless, which is the ultimate reality.
Yes.
Am I correct?
This is, you made a few good points. Firstly, you do need a form to relate to the formless. You need a form, or better put, you do need a form to come to know that the truth of this very form is here right now. It's not away. So it's not like I'm, trying to, it's not like the wave is trying to kind of go somewhere and access the water, right? The entirety of the wave, Nitin, is the water. So it's not like there's a higher, reality or a lower awareness or a higher awareness. It's just content. Just the content of the whole wave is already present. The only process that the wave is given through this means of knowledge is to remove this idea, which is what we call avidya, ignorance, that it is not already, that it's enjoying something other than the water. This is a notion that it's enjoying something other than the water. Or a better way to put is to give reality to the form, right? To the form of the wave, and to sort of give it some reality, some truth to it, and I say, well, I am just this much. I am just a small wave in the middle of this vast ocean, and I sort of have to now, have to access the ultimate reality. So it has to first understand it will never do that. It will never access anything, right? Because to access means it's not available here. It means I have to open some door and I have to locate it somewhere. There is no place in the wave, there is no part of the wave that is not the water. You understand? There is no part of this thought that is not awareness. There is no part of your body that is not awareness. There is no part of your agreement or disagreement that is not awareness. Because everything you say from beginning to end, everything you say, everything you think from beginning to end, what is the content of that? Awareness. You understand? That's one commonality for every thought. The thought is different, just like the shape of the wave is different. Sometimes it's tall, sometimes it's sort of kind of depressed and so on. But there's no one moment when it is not already enjoying the final reality, Brahman. There is not one moment when you are not awareness. Because if I suppose I say to you, can you tell me one moment when you are not awareness? Can you tell me one moment when you're not awareness? And you say to me, yeah, well, I'm not awareness, in deep sleep. Then I would just argue you and say, well, you just mentioned to me deep sleep. So this means there's in the presence of awareness, deep sleep is there. That means you were not displaced. You awareness are not displaced by the coming of deep sleep. If you were to be displaced, then if I were to say to you deep sleep, then you'll be say, I don't have deep sleep. I don't know what you're talking about. But you know what I'm talking about. So there's not one place in the three states, whether in the waking, the dreaming, or the deep sleep, when you are not. Awareness in the presence of I, the whole thing is taking place from beginning to the middle to the end. That's why you tell me about a thought, because throughout the entire thought, it changes, it molds, it has a shape, a texture. But the whole thing, from beginning to end, there's one consistent, invariable presence. That's you, the observer of that thought. Okay? Secondly, yes, it is true that, this body, it's not so much to evolve because the body is already evolved enough. So, the body has to be evolved just enough to understand the scriptures, to understand your nature. So yes, in 1 million years, do you think a human being will have the same body as now? No, it's going to be different, right? There's no such thing as consistency in this universe. Everything undergoes evolution. However, you don't have to wait 1 million years for the brain to sort of grow bigger in physical size and to become more sophisticated. The body mind needs to be just sufficient to capture the essence of who you are, to capture the essence that I am awareness. No more, no less. And you are already enjoying that kind of capacity. So we are making the best use of it right now. We need not evolve in terms of, sort of a greater being, unless you really mean by that, as in kind of remove some notions which deny my acceptance, my recognition of myself as awareness. In reference to removing those notions, we can say that there is an evolution taking place. But at the same time, that evolution is what we call life experience. And life experience, we shed off a few things like a snake, and that takes some time to naturally kind of, subside. So there's no need to speed that up. Yeah. So meanwhile, now let me get back to the causal body. Okay. So are we clear on this concept? There is not one thing in the universe which is without a cause, and not just first time cause, but that cause itself becomes an effect, because the tree is an effect of the cause. What's the cause? The seed. But the seed now becomes an effect in reference to its cause, which is the tree, right? Because the tree sheds off the seeds. Therefore, the tree is the cause, and the seed becomes an effect. So the seed and the tree, the seed becomes both a cause and an effect, and the tree is also a cause and effect. So there's no such thing as just an effect. It is both cause and effect, depends from which standpoint you look at it. Okay, clear? Okay. Now the question is, what is this causal body from which arises your physical and subtle body? Nirvikaupika rupam. Nirvikaupika rupam means it is what is unmanifest. Okay, it has no divisions. So what does it mean to say something is unmanifest? It means there's nothing you can say about it because it's not formed, it's not taken a form of any kind. It's just sort of in a undifferentiated soup, undifferentiated whole. And in that undifferentiated whole, there is a potential for a body to come. There is a potential for a life to arise. Now, what kind of a life will arise? That is what Nitin was talking about, past causes. That's called our karma. But nevertheless, the results, unmanifest results, they are in an unmanifest state called the causal body. And this unmanifest, what does it do? From it arises the physical and the subtle according to one's karma. And question then is, why are these causes, which are unmanifest, why are they present? Again, what Nitin was talking about. Avidya rupam. Okay, now look at this. See, anything born, human beings will keep it at now. Yes, animals, anything born whatsoever is born. Why? Because its notion of myself as a being is this much, one with a physical and a subtle body. So I am as good as my physical and subtle body. This is a fact. This is what everyone's common experience is. I am this much. Because the body is, and the mind is limited in nature, obviously there will be a compulsion to engage in the world to find some fulfillment, to find some completion in one's inherent state of incompleteness. Because to be born implies I am incomplete and I'm coming here to get stuff. You only come to get stuff when you think you don't already have it. Isn't that everyone's experience on Earth? The only reason you're born here is to get stuff. It's a universal statement. What does getting stuff or wanting to get stuff imply? Whatever that stuff is that I came here to get, it's not already mine. Therefore, I have to get here so that I can engage in actions to get that, whatever that is, in reference to what I value. Obviously, you're going to get different things than someone else because you value certain things. Now, what determines what you value? What determines what person A values versus person B values? That is called your samskaras. What are samskaras? Samskaras are impressions that are formed by my conclusion in reference to the individual that I am, of what do I need to get so that once I get it, I will have some moment of fullness for however long that is. That conclusion coming from the Buddhi decides what will give me some fullness, and therefore that becomes my target goal in life. And by pursuit of that target goal, I form a samskara, an impression in the causal body. It becomes a habit. It becomes a ritual that upon waking, you think about it on and on and on and on. Not to say that this ritual is permanent, because the rituals change according to what friends we meet, what shows we hear, what podcasts we listen to, what books we read. So the whole thing is constantly shaping, but one thing is common. One thing is unceasing: the need to pursue something else according to my limited conclusions as to what will give me fullness. That incomplete conclusion drives me. What is this me that it drives? The physical and the subtle body into the world, applying action and doing what? Producing serious consequences. Sometimes not so serious. Depends if you're rushing on a motorcycle and you get called for a speeding ticket, it's a serious consequence, right? Now, the consequence sometimes isn't immediate. Sometimes it is immediate. You get a speeding ticket right on the spot, right? This is called drishtapalam, immediately received consequences, being a product of my wanting to go in the world and gain some fulfillment for myself. Immediate, fair and square. However, sometimes we do things in a sequence, in a ritual, or whatever form it is, and we do to the best of our abilities, but nothing really special happens. You know, you still sort of go through your times and you look at your neighbor there who's probably not doing anything, and they're having a party, enjoying themselves, and you're like, this guy is not, whatever, they're not doing anything and they're having a blast, and I'm doing everything I can and my life is just sort of ordinary. What's going on here? But what you don't understand is the neighbor over there is having consequences. You're having consequences, but they are both adrishta. They are both unseen. Unseen means there is a delay between the time you put an action into the world and the time that the world returns back a smile or a slap. There is a delay between these two periods. And therefore, the individual firstly must come to, not must, but if they understand there is a delay, then there is no question, or a certain level of patience starts to come into one's psyche. They're not so rushed to get some consequential result, because the universe delivers when the times are ripe. When the times are right, when they're fully conducive, then the universe is able to deliver you what you have put your heart and soul into. And so you see the drug dealer over there and you say, they are selling cross-border drugs. This happens, right? This happens right now as we speak. And they've been doing this for 40 plus years. But eventually, if you look at the case studies of any one of these individuals, you will see that eventually something happens and they get exposed, or somehow they get caught, and the law finally catches up to them. So this is an inescapable consequence called adrishta palam. Therefore, as a result of that need to be fulfilled, action gets applied. Action produces drishta and adrishta palam. Drishta and adrishta palam produces consequences. The adrishta palam, the unseen consequences, are what is accumulated in the causal body. So you can call the causal body your bank account of pleasant and unpleasant, what is yet to come. The bank account of pleasants and unpleasants. The bank account of punyam, that means pleasant things that are yet to come, and papam, these are papam coins, are coins which, when you look at them, they're so hot they burn your hand, you know. But either way, both of them, the beautifully polished punyam coins and the red hot papam coins, they both get withdrawn, and they, according to their mixture, produce or buy a new body. You have bought yourself a body. Did you know that? You went to your bank account called your causal body. You withdrew some money. The only thing is, when you withdraw money, you can't select how many punyam and how many papam coins you withdraw. You just withdraw the mixture, and you just get, okay, here's some papam, here's some punyam. And then you go to the manufacturer called the creator and you say, here, I want to buy a body. And they look at, okay, so you got 10 papam coins and you got 11 punyam coins. So 10 and 11, okay. So this will give you a female body. This will give you a body that will be born in a certain kind of parenthood, and you will have some, some fair share of sufferings and fair share of smiles. But here, go and enjoy yourself. And you're so happy. You find yourself another milk bottle in the mouth and grow up soon. And you find your life full of surprises. Now, this surprises is the causal body, the bank account of punya and papam.
If the gross body, it starts a fetus, develops, and then dies. So it's impermanent in that way.
Yeah.
And it's got a sense of I. The subtle body is the intellect.
The subtle body has a sense of I, not the physical body.
Yeah, it's capable of thinking, therefore it has a sense of I. And once it's dead, that will dissolve, go away, no longer exist. That I will no longer exist as such.
The I sense is a mechanism provided so that those impressions assigned onto one individual can manifest into a physical and a subtle body and work out its stuff. That mechanism is provided every new life. You don't have to worry about that. What supplies that mechanism, the I sense and the physical body, as you said, what supplies it a unique personality and a unique way of thinking, a unique personality and a unique body, is the kind of mixture of punya papam that is taken from the causal body. That's what determines you as a person who you are right now.
Yeah, that's okay. So what I'm trying to get to is, let's just say that the subtle body and the physical body, they are not permanent. They die and they dissolve, they go away, whereas the causal body will keep going. Is that right?
This is true. Now, I want to bring two models from the Upanishads. One model will say that after physical death, Leo, it's not like the subtle body continues exactly like now. The only thing is it has amnesia, right, for the next birth. The other model says that, yes, the subtle body, because it's 5 subtle elements, as we explained, that just dissolves like anything else. But then again, it doesn't need to dissolve, because still, when a new subtle body gets created, the template for the subtle body is exactly the same. It just gets populated by different kind of personality traits and kind of, causes that it's going to experience. So whether it dissolves or doesn't dissolve, the point is there's a new subtle body, therefore new physical body, because of
causal body.
The causal body. So as long as the causal body is there will be a subtle body and there will be a physical body. Whether the subtle body dissolves after death, that actually doesn't really matter. The point is there is a causal body.
Yeah, and that keeps going.
And that causal body keeps supplying new subtle bodies to have a certain predisposition, a character trait, a kind of being inquirers. Some of them are not so inquirers. All of these traits are a product of the causal body.
So it's still, in a way, and I know this is going to be a contradiction, but it's still, in a way, an individual. I know it's a contradiction because nothing is an individual. The wave and the water is the same.
Yeah, good. So as long as there's a causal body, it gives a sense of individuality, because the causal body is the source where there's ignorance. And that ignorance, every single life manifests the same experience, which is I am a limited human being who needs to get stuff for my fulfillment. Therefore, every life, whatever subtle body it manifests, has the same kind of general idea about itself as the one who is not full, the one who is incomplete. Therefore, whatever gave birth to the subtle body, which is thinking I'm not complete, whatever gave birth to that, itself is limited in nature, itself is limited in knowledge. That limited in knowledge is called ignorance. See, there's no such thing as ignorance. We only have all knowledge and we have partial knowledge. If I have partial knowledge, then obviously I don't have all knowledge. Being born from partial knowledge, obviously I'm not going to know what I am. I will know a few things, but I'm not going to know very much at all. In fact, I'm not even going to know how to walk. Every single life, this has to be again repeated from the beginning. So the point here is whatever is born out of the causal body is limited. Why is it limited? Because of ignorance. What is ignorance? It means I don't have all knowledge. Just a small part of the total. From that small part of the total, the causal body assigned just to one individual is what gives birth to your physical body and your subtle body.
Yeah, what's in my mind right now is one more question, very quick. So what's the difference between a jiva and a causal body?
Excellent. The jiva is a name given when awareness is under the spell of ignorance. Awareness is as though embodied in one single unit. We call this subtle body. So a jiva is in reference to you, Brahman, the whole, limitless one, as though being embodied in one single space, kind of like this cup, right? Leo, look at this. This is, see, space is without divisions, right? Right now, space is without divisions. The space right here is exactly the space that's accommodating your body. The space accommodating my body is the same space accommodating your body. But now, besides the point, suppose this cup suddenly manifests in space. Look at this. There's no, space is clear. And suddenly, zoom, there comes a cup. Okay. Now, this cup inside, I cannot put because there's some water there. Inside this cup, it seems like, this space inside the cup is very different from the space outside the cup, right? But actually it's not, because if this cup were to break right now, there will be no such thing as, quote, merger, right? It would only seem to merge in reference to this cup being destroyed, but there's no actual merger. So a jiva, Leo, is this space inside the cup is as though confined by the boundaries of the cup. And it thinks that this space inside is real and it's different from the space outside. Therefore, jiva is the one whose awareness appears or seems to be different than the awareness of every other individual. Like my awareness says the cup is different from your awareness. So we just have two cups, right? We have space in here and they both have the same experience. My space is different from your space, but it only appears different in reference to the boundaries of your subtle body and your physical body. So what is the difference between a jiva and a causal body? The causal body supplies the subtle body. When the subtle body is supplied, then that conscious being says, I am this much. This much is called jiva. What manifested this form, which causes awareness to say, I am this much? The causal body. Now, Nagesh brought an interesting term here. See, because there's many words for jiva here. Yeah, upadi is a good word. Upadi is jiva is an upadi, name form of Brahman. Okay, so look at this. This is a doll. I'm going to use this for the 3 states, but it doesn't matter. So suppose this is, awareness. See, there's a limitation of the example, isn't there? Because I'm giving form to awareness. But just suppose that this is the final reality, right? It's transparent, it's clear, it has no attributes of its own. It is called Brahman. Keeping in mind that we cannot confine Brahman to one single form. We cannot imagine, oh, I'm in touch with Brahman. You cannot do that. Okay, but just suppose if I put this behind, right? Now, looking at this, looking at oneself, what does it seem like? I am a form. I have a form. I have a head. I have, certain thoughts. This whole thing is called an upadi. What is an upadi? That which as though lends its attributes to something else. That which as though lends its attributes to Brahman. And this is called technically in Sanskrit upahita. Upahita. What is upahita? That which as though takes on attributes of something else without actually taking on any attributes. So Brahman is an upahita. It doesn't actually take on any attributes of this called the upadi, but it seems like it has. You understand? Now, in reference to ignorance, it seems like I am this limited being. This I am limited being is called a jiva. Okay? Awareness appearing to be localized in a form. Awareness appearing to be localized. Awareness as though localized to one form is a jiva. Not actually localized, but as though localized from the standpoint of one individual is a jiva. Since how long has this causal body been here? Because what do we explain now? We said the causal body produces the shape. The shape, when awareness pervades it, it seems like as though I am this space, which is actually everywhere. This space is now confined to this little cup, to this jar. So, and what produces this jar? Therefore, what as though confines awareness? Causal body. The question now is, since how long has this causal body been here? The causal body, because of which you have this physical body right now, and I have this physical body right now. Since how long? Anadi avidya rupam. The cause does not start in time, since time immemorial. Okay. Now, this is actually true with anything, at least in the Vedic model. And this is the gift of the Vedas to the Western world, is that in the West, we have this notion that things start at a certain point, like a linear, and they were never there before, and suddenly they have started out of nothing. And out of nothing, they have now going through a little kind of course of action, and they will come to an end. This is strictly incorrect. It's just a thinking that's probably has not undergone proper proper inquiry. So the gift of the Vedic system is that everything is cyclical in creation. Now, if you have a circle, right? If I have a circle, at what point can I point where it's the beginning? Where do I need to point and say it started over here, right? The moment you bring in a circle, a cyclical model, no matter where you go, here is as equal as here, is equal as here, is equal as here. Only if I have something straight, I can say it started here and and once upon a time it never was, but it started now and now it's going. Cyclical means whatever is in creation enjoys a beginningless nature to it. So this means ignorance is no exception. Ignorance is also beginningless. So this means if ignorance is beginningless, because how do we define causal body? We said it is avidya. It is of the nature of ignorance. I don't know that I am much more than just the causal body, the physical body, and the subtle body. Ignorance. Since how long has this been here? Since anything else has been here. The mountains, the concept of mountain has been here since beginningless time. The concept of space has been here since beginningless time. The concept, the idea, the possibility of planets and jivas, right? Living entities. Jiva, by the way, Leo, specifically in Sanskrit means a living entity, okay? Jivas have been since beginningless time. The capacity to work out one's stuff, to love, right, to connect, marriage, union, that has been here since beginningless time. Whatever you experience right now in this particular world, since 1940s till the day you die, since whenever you were born, whatever you're experiencing in your lifetime has never not been some other time. There was never a time when what you're experiencing now was not available to people in 1500s or 1400s, or people in the Roman Empire, or people in, of course, now when you talk about, Neanderthals, then you can say, well, they were denied a lot of experiences. However, more or less at any one point in time, whatever age you're born in, you are given the whole gamut of experiences that was equally given to any other individual at any other age since time immemorial. So it's not like, oh, we're so lucky now, we have computers and we have, digital payment platforms, and those in the 1800s could have never done this. Well, at the same time, we also have a rise of suicides from the year 19 to 25. Age 19 to 25, there's an increase of suicide more so than ever before. And yet we have digital payment platforms. We've got TikTok, we've got Facebook, endless opportunities to get followers, to have all of the fame in the world. And yet suicide is increasing. So are things really better than once upon a time? Not really. This is a notion that has to be dropped also. This is just a personal notion. We kind of say good old times. There's no such thing as good old time. Everything that you're experiencing in this life was more or less also given in a different flavor to all of those other individuals before you thousands of years ago, just in a different way, shape, or form. And this is not only in this cycle of creation, but cycles upon cycles upon cycles of creation. As long as the universe exists, the universe resolves, and then a universe comes, a continuity of all of the things that have happened in the previous universe simply continue in a new generation. And then again, you have a whole host of philosophers trying to objectify consciousness. And you say, oh boy, here we go again. Now we need an avatar to come down and restore some order into this world and give some example how to live in this world. And the irony is, look at this, when it comes to an avatar, which is just a cyclical, ongoing event, one cycle after another cycle, an avatar comes. We give him different names for each cycle. Sometimes Jesus, sometimes Allah, sometimes Krishna, sometimes Ramana, sometimes Rama, sometimes Vishnu, whatever names we give them, depends on your culture. Look at this. An avatar, they say, is a product of coming. See, avatar means to come down, literally in Sanskrit. A coming down to bring and restore order to a particular region, to a particular culture. Okay, they usually have a small influence in their area, but as time goes by, that influence starts to spread because there's a word of mouth factor. The avatar comes as a result of a collective prayer to bring down a person who can be extremely efficient in the way that they communicate the teachings, and charming, and sort of there's a strength about their ways of delivering the knowledge. They're very intelligent, suppose. They don't have to be intelligent, but there is something the way that they deliver the information that affects a vast amount of people. Why does an Avatara come down? To restore Dharma, to restore values on earth, to show us how to live, what is worthy of pursuit, what is it that matters most in this world, what is it, for what purpose are we truly born here, and where is this all going? So what does this mean? That even adharma, because adharma is a lack of values, plays a huge part. Avatara is a product of adharma. Adharma, the society losing their way in the society, losing their way of how to conduct themselves properly, manifests an avatara. The avatara comes down, shows how to live, and has a huge influence for generations upon generations of people, which help them to liberate oneself. Why? Because of adharma. This world cannot be one without the other. Duality means goodness cannot prosper without lack of goodness, and lack of goodness actually gives birth to goodness. It's an interplay. This is why we call it a lila, a play. So this whole notion of get rid of kind of, unethical stuff, this is all a personal idea. The system doesn't work like that. Wherever there is an up, there is a down. Wherever there is wisdom, there is absence of wisdom. Wherever there is compassion, love, giving, there is greed, avarice, hoarding. One feeds the other, one inspires the other. All of the books are a product of this interplay, Lorena.
That's interesting with the avatara that you were talking about, because I find that over time that truth, the word of the truth that they're speaking, it becomes distorted. People put their own stories on top of, and then it becomes distorted again. So the adharmic sort of thing kicks in more again. Exactly. And the word gets distorted, yeah.
You see, and this distortion is this cycle, and it never started and it will never end. It just keeps on going in a cycle. And one day when I recognize that I am not this causal body, then I disassociate as though this is so. I was never associated to the causal body, but as though disassociate from the causal body, which we will talk about next week. And therefore, after death, there is no, owing to the fact that my I is taken out of this causal body, then there is no effect. Because I am no longer bound by the causal body, then there is no causal body for me to give me Brahman, to give me a new subtle and the physical body. Finally, let me give you the logic why you are not the causal body. Because the inquiry is not about knowing about the causal body. What are these technical terms? It's about simply taking these false notions out of I. That's what the inquiry is. So, how do you understand that you are not the causal body? Look at this. What is it that does action? The physical and the subtle body. When the physical and subtle body does an action, what comes? The result comes. As a product of what? The physical and subtle body. We have just done an inquiry. You cannot be the physical body because everything about the physical body changes. There's an invariable presence in whose presence the body from youth all the way to adulthood changes through millions of different ways. Cells are dying, new cells are being born. I just did this broccoli example, right? Its body cannot be you. If the body was you, that means if I cut my hand, I would have cut 10% of I. Suddenly I would feel 10% less. This is not the case. We have done an inquiry. You cannot be the subtle body because throughout millions of thoughts that come and go, I am there before the thought, I am there during the thought, and I survive after the thought has long gone. Not only that, but every thought is distinct of itself. Every thought has a distinct nature. Thought A has no connection to thought B. They're completely different. And yet, if I was thought A, by the time thought B comes, then I will have no connection to thought A anymore, because I will be a brand new I, a brand new thought. You cannot be the thought. If you were the thoughts, you would have no connection or relation to previous, completely unrelated thoughts. Therefore, I am there before the thought comes. I am there, presence, awareness is there while the thought is going on in the mind. Once the thought is long gone, the same I who was there during or before the thought came and during the thought's presence, that same I is there to witness the absence of that thought. Same thing with your emotions. Same thing with your entire life. If any thought was you, you would not be able to get rid of it. It will be stuck constantly. And even in deep sleep, you could not get rid of it. Because you will go to sleep and it will just be there. You constantly think about this person. Even in deep sleep, you'll be thinking about this person. That is not the case. That's not how we experience the world. And the fact that you can have a new thought means that the awareness is not stuck by any other old thoughts. The fact there's always a fresh presence, a fresh witness available to see something new, completely different from the old, implies that that old is not or has not attributed any attributes onto awareness. The fact that you can have one color immediately replaced by another color means what? That this was never contaminated by this color, nor contaminated by this color. Awareness is just like that. The fact that you're always available, freshly present to every experience implies that you are without any attributes, nothing can stick onto you. Now, knowing that the physical body is not you, the subtle body is not you, and it is the physical and the subtle body that does actions in the world, and those actions provide results, drishta and adrishta palam, and where do those adrishta palams go? Causal body. They're a product of what? That which is not I. The results are a product of that which is not I, the physical and the subtle body. So if not I has done an action and the results came back to the causal body, then how can I be the causal body? Because the results in the causal body are a product of that which is not I. You understand the logic here? Not I has done an action. The results have come back into the causal body. So whatever is in the causal body was caused by not I, the body mind, the physical body and the subtle. It was not caused by awareness. It was caused by not I. Therefore, the results are not mine. The good results are not mine. The papa results are not mine. The punyam results are not mine. To whose are they? That which is not I. They are of the physical body and they are of the subtle body.
No, I always wonder about, like, how could there can be, I mean, if we're we're Brahman or we're the Atman, how can we, Atman has no qualities. So, I mean, if we're that, how can we have karmas?
Excellent. Good. Actually, I'll answer that. Because, as I said last week, power I'll talk about this power. Consciousness has a power to manifest the universe. Okay? Consciousness, that which is beginningless, Carrie, because we just established nothing here has a beginning. That which is beginningless, called consciousness, the final reality in your language, Brahman, has a power to manifest the universe. Okay? Understand so far? Has a power to manifest the universe. One of the manifestation is a jiva. Okay? The jiva, since beginningless time, has not inquired into its nature. So the ignorance that the jiva enjoys or has as a result of not inquiring into its nature, the ignorance does not belong to consciousness. It's a product of the power which manifests the universe. there's no connection between the two. Even though the universe depends, like this form, the universe, right? The shape depends on the glass. The glass at any time is not bound by this shape. If this shape, listen, Carrie, this shape called a jug right now says, I am this much. Look at me. I'm a very small jug. There's a bigger jug over there. That jug is much bigger. Where is the focus of this beginningless jug? On its form. You understand? Where does Vedanta place your focus onto? Onto the content of the form. You understand so far, Carrie? So whatever forms are in the universe, since how long have they been here?
Forever.
Forever.
It's a cyclical.
Okay. Why are the forms here? That's the next question. Why are the forms here? Because consciousness, the final reality, in your language, Atman or Brahman, okay, has a capacity to manifest these forms. Here's one of them right now. I'm holding one of those forms, metaphorically, right? The form is nothing but the content. The whole, suppose the glass is called Brahman, right? Suppose the glass is called Brahman. The form is nothing but Brahman. You understand so far? The form is nothing but the content. But the form thinks or believes it is this much. It's just a jug. Whose problem is it? Is it the problem of the glass or is it the problem of the form? Is it the problem of the glass? Because the glass is that which is free of the form. This form can change however it wants. Where's that other little cup that I have? The form can change however it wants. The content is not affected by the change, but the focus of that form is onto itself. The form, the little form. Where is the focus for a wise person, Carrie? Consciousness, which is the content of the form. So consciousness has been here since beginningless time. Because it's been beginningless time here, its power has been producing forms since beginningless times. And one of those forms, called Carrie, has never inquired into her nature to be much more than just this physical body and mind. And for that reason, there's a new Carrie born every single life. A new Carrie. Until one life, a jiva or a person called Carrie inquires into her nature and recognizes that I cannot be the physical body, I cannot be the subtle body, and I cannot be the causal body, which I've just provided the logic why for that. Therefore, by cognitively understanding this, you take your I as though you take yourself, I, consciousness, out of these three bodies. The last reason why you cannot be the causal body, and then we will close, is why. Because how do we define the causal body here? Avidya, ignorance. Do you know that you are ignorant? I am ignorant. I don't. What is ignorance, by the way? I don't know. I don't know. You know that you don't know, right? Why else do you seek? Why else do we seek in this world for God? Unless we knew that there is something that I don't know. So I know that I don't know. That's why I seek. So this means ignorance has not covered you. Ignorance has not contaminated you. Because if ignorance were to have contaminated you, awareness, consciousness, then you would never seek in the first place. You will be completely normalized to your ignorance. It will be a normal way of being. But nobody is like that. We cannot stand smallness, which implies what? I know about my smallness, which means that I must be much bigger than smallness, which is what motivates the pursuit. Therefore, two reasons why you're not the causal body. First, and then we'll close. First, it's the physical and the subtle body that does the actions. And therefore, the actions produce results. Since I am not the physical body and not the subtle body, whatever results the physical and the subtle has produced is also not mine for those reasons, because I'm not the physical and the subtle. And the results go where? To the causal body. So whatever the causal body is, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It's just a bunch of adrashta palams, unseen consequences, not done by me, done by my physical body, done by my subtle body. So therefore, that cannot be mine either. And second, I know that I'm ignorant. I know that I don't know. I don't know who I am. Therefore, let me go find a teacher. That means I know that I'm ignorant. Let me go find a teacher. That means you know about the causal body. That means you are not the causal body. That which you know, you cannot be. You cannot be that which you know. All right, next week we will do the second set to negate erroneous notions of I. The second set will involve the three states of experience. Purnamadav, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva avashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.